Howdy folks, I'm Brian, and here's some Reddit. We're going to be looking at the daily roundup of a bunch of jerk stories today, so let's get started. Our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Not Wanting to Display My Stepdaughter's Pottery in My House? I'm a 22-year-old woman. Earlier this year, I got married and then moved in with my boyfriend of 2 years, who we'll call Ollie. He's 34 and already has 2 kids, a son and a daughter. We moved in together in January. I had to move away from my hometown because Ollie got a new job. I was a little unhappy about moving away, so to appease me, Ollie told me I could choose the house and decorate it. I found this magnificent house and we moved in, along with his kids, who split their time between our house and their mom's. Since January, I've been decorating and it looks gorgeous. Everything was going pretty well until this year. When the kids came back from the weekend at their mom's, Ollie's daughter, who is 11, was carrying a huge box. It was so big and heavy that she needed her older brother and Ollie to help get it into the house. I asked her what was in it, and she opened it, and I saw it was full of pottery projects from the last 5 years of school. I asked why she had brought them all, and she said that her mother told her to bring them because her mother was moving to a smaller apartment and doesn't have room. I thought it was sort of odd, but whatever. I asked her if she wanted me to help carry them into the basement or the attic. She said that no, she was going to put them in her room, so I helped her bring them upstairs. She asked if she could leave her newest project downstairs to show it off. It looked all right, so I let her put it somewhere out of the way so it didn't clash too much with the decor. Well, I guess she sent the picture to her mom because later that day her mom called me. She said that she wanted me to put up the rest of the pottery pieces around the house and show them off. I was sort of weirded out because we barely talk. I told her that, and I explained how they didn't fit into the decor, so I would rather not. At this point in time, my stepdaughter hadn't asked me to put any of the others up. When Ollie came home from work, he told me that his ex had called to him to complain about not putting up the pottery. He asked me to find places to put up the rest, because he was proud of how good they were. Honestly, they were pretty terrible, so I told him no again, and I reminded him of how he promised me I could decorate the house alone. This devolved into a fight in which we both called each other some hurtful things. Now we're not talking. I guess I could put up the rest of the pottery, but it's more on principle of the thing that bothers me. I don't appreciate my husband's ex trying to come into my house and tell me how to decorate. Ollie also promised me that I would decorate and no one else, so I think it's unfair to renege on that promise. I don't want to be the evil stepmother, but I also refuse to be stepped on in my own house. I don't have any friends around here to give me a reality check, so am I a jerk? So I think I need a little more information here. I do think that you're being a little bit petty in certain areas here, especially with calling your stepdaughters, art junk, essentially. But I think that you also were given, free reign over how to decorate the house. And I think that it's important to be able to do that. So I think everyone kind of is a jerk here. If this is important to your stepdaughter, then you should find places to put the pottery around the house. If it isn't important to your stepdaughter, then it may not be necessary. I would sit down with your stepdaughter and find out how important it is for her to have her pottery up. If this is something that she really wants to have around the house and she's really proud of them, then I think that it's a good idea to put the pottery up. On the other hand, if she thinks that it's fine to keep them in her room and that she's going to decorate her room with her pottery, then there's no problem in that. So that's really where I stand on this. I do think that you're being a jerk in certain areas, like insulting them. But I also think that it's a little weird that her mother reached out to you to just tell you to put pottery up. Anyhow, good luck. Our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Angering an Elderly Thai Woman by Not Taking the Chicken Poop Prison Seriously? So a while back, my wife, who's part Thai, and I went on a trip to Kattenberry, a region in Thailand, and by and large, we had a good time. It was my first trip out of America. So just being totally different environment was a bit overwhelming at times, but there were a lot of cool places to see and food to eat. As part of our tour, we went with a couple of other groups, around 9 people in total. One of the places we saw was called Kuk Ki Kai, or Chicken Poop Prison. Apparently it was an old prison built by French occupation. The bottom floor housed the prisoners, while the upper floor was used as a chicken coop. The name came from the fact that the floor of the coop was porous in such a way that chicken poop fell freely onto the prisoners below. Now, I couldn't understand the tour guide very well, but there was this funny looking chicken signs around the place meant for tourists that sort of explained what the prison was for, and the atmosphere seemed fairly lighthearted. I sort of laughed when the concept of the prison was first explained, and commented to my wife that it sounded like a pretty creative idea. When we heard that rarely anyone was sentenced to more than a week in Kai, I said something like, "Sounds a lot more humane than our prison systems." Then an elderly Thai American woman on the tour, whom I assume didn't speak English well, mentioned that her father or grandfather spent a few days in Kai and wasn't the same afterwards. I was sort of taken aback by that, and I tried to ask her what made it so bad compared to much longer sentences in America. Obviously, I get that it's gross, but I would assume that chicken poop is really tiny, and from what I know about birds pooping on my windshield, bird poop really doesn't have much of a smell. Well, that didn't go over well, and she gave a couple of short answers and then turned away and ignored me, and didn't respond or talk to me for the rest of the tour, even later that day, which led to a pretty awkward environment and had people looking at me like I was a jerk. I talked to my wife about it afterwards, and she said that she knew I was just curious, but she sort of understood the other perspective as well, that the way I treated it could have been taken offensive. So am I a jerk? So here's the thing. You really shouldn't compare people's suffering. Like, I think it's in poor taste to be like, well, this suffering seems really bad compared to this suffering. And also, like, you weren't there. You have a vision of what you think was bad, but you don't know how bad it really was in there. Like, you can only speculate about how smelly it was or wasn't. And I'm pretty sure chicken excrement does not smell pleasant. This kind of attitude is in really poor taste. This woman was telling you about her father or grandfather and how he basically wasn't the same after he went to this place, and that it was, truly something horrible to suffer from. And then you retorted, well, how is this even worse than American prisons? And I think that was very insensitive. And I don't think that you should say things like that because, again, suffering isn't a contest. And maybe in your mind it wasn't very bad, but it was clearly bad enough that it impacted her relative. So, yeah, I think you're a jerk here. Anyhow, good luck. Our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Making My Assistant Take Tests for Me? I work as a CPA and my license is about to expire. In order to renew, I have to take several online courses, 16 to be exact. The courses are easy but time-consuming, and with the year-end around the corner, I don't have time to take the courses. So I told my assistant to take and pass the courses as me. She wasn't happy. I told this to my friends, and they all think I'm a jerk. I see it as a work hack, and she gets to learn about accounting. Win-win. No, you are a jerk. This is insane. You're going to be lucky if your assistant doesn't take the classes and fail just out of spite here. This is grossly unethical, and to put your assistant in this position is in extremely poor taste. They shouldn't have to choose to do something unethical for their boss. And basically, you're saying, here, do this unethical thing for me, employee, because I'm too busy. And, I think that's kind of gross. So, yeah. I think you're acting like trash here. Anyhow, I hope that you end up changing your mind and actually doing the right thing and taking your own courses and, doing your own continuing education. Take care and good luck. Our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Getting Annoyed at My Wife for Telling Her Friend About a Job Opportunity? It's 2020 and the academic job market is not exactly stellar. I recently heard from a former student that the university he's working at is planning on opening 2 tenure-track positions. Even better, the current department chair there is an old friend from my postdoc, and I also have another fantastic former student who was with me for 6 years, and I just and just finished a very successful postdoc. He was asking me for a letter of recommendation when I realized that I could set him up as a guest lecturer/interview before the position gets open to the public. He's a great candidate, and they would be very lucky to have him. I was telling my wife about my day. She works in a large medical center that's also a large research center. One of her good friends has been searching for a tenure-track position for over 4 years. I really like her friend and wish her the best. The next day, my wife tells her about the position. This really annoys me. I didn't explicitly tell her not to spread this information. However, I feel like I clearly had a goal, and my wife chose to do something directly opposing what I was trying to accomplish. Her argument: there are 2 positions. She has an obligation to her friend. We're married, so my connections are her connections. From my perspective, there being 2 positions is irrelevant. My obligation to my PhD students are more important than her obligations to her friends in a professional setting. Also, my professional connections are not marital property. I feel like I'm entirely in the right here. Am I a jerk? Yes. Yes, you are. She had a friend who needed a job, and you're taking this personally. The thing is that if your student is well qualified and that they are able to get the position, then they're going to be strongly considered and they're going to be able to get the position. And you're right. Right now, finding a job in academia is extremely challenging. But I think that you crossed the line here when you said that your obligation to your PhD students was far more important than her obligations to her friends. I feel like you're being extremely unreasonable here and that she wanted to help her friend out. So again, I don't think that you have any special privilege here given that you were their PhD advisor. I think this is just an excuse you're using. So yeah, I think you're being a jerk here. Alright folks, our last letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Regifting a Gift Card? My husband's grandma gave him a $50 gift card to Fusion for his birthday. The closest Fusion to us is about an hour away. The gift card has been sitting in our drawer for 3 months, and we are never going to use it. I want to regift it to my sister-in-law for Christmas. She lives closer to Fusion. My husband is furious at this idea. He thinks his grandma is somehow going to find out that we've regifted it. He's mad that I even brought up the idea. He thinks that the gift card is an invitation to go out and eat with his grandma, since they have eaten at Fusion with her once before. I think it was just a birthday present. Am I a jerk? And here's an update. Update: I accepted my judgment as a jerk. An hour after posting the original post, I apologized to my husband for not being more sensitive, and he apologized for getting angry. We have a really healthy marriage and just naturally share everything. He's been 1000% okay with this. I wasn't trying to argue with anyone on here. I was just trying to provide more context. I am a proud cheapskate. I was trying to save some money. I'll put the gift card back in the drawer. I'm going to disagree. You're not a jerk here, and the reason why is regifting a gift card is not that big of a deal. And if it is an invitation... Okay, well, let's back up for a second. If this is an invitation from his grandmother to go to Fusion to grab a dinner, then you might be a jerk. If this is just a gift from her, then you're probably not a jerk. You can give away a gift card if you're not thinking you're going to use it. And there's no reason to hold on to that gift card until the end of time and never use it. So if you think you're going to go to Fusion and you think that you may go with his grandmother, then sure, keep the gift card. But if this is just going to sit around forever and never get used, then regift it. There's no point in holding on to a gift card that's never going to get used. Anyhow, good luck, and I see you've already resolved this problem, but anyhow, take care. Alright folks, that's all the time we have for today. If you liked this video, consider giving me a thumbs up. If you disliked it, consider giving me a thumbs down. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.